Welcome to It's Happening in Grand Prairie. I'm Georgia Clemson, and Happy New Year to all of you viewers. And we have something really exciting. Not just a new year, we have a fabulous new set for you. The first show that we're going to bring you today is going to be the history of how It's Happening in Grand Prairie got started. And we'll be bringing you some key players that played a role, a very big role, in making this show happen. Some facts about It's Happening that you may not know is it's the longest running TV show of its kind in Texas. On the air since 1981 and started on Store Cable Public Access. We have recorded more than 1,000 episodes. It's now available on Spectrum Government Channel, streaming online, and on demand on YouTube. As part of our special show, we have guests who helped us get it started from the very beginning. And we have with us Mr. Chuck Edwards. Welcome, Chuck.
Thank you, George. It's great to be here.
Chuck,
I can't believe it's been 40 years, though.
I know, over 40 actually, just a bit. And it's so exciting to have you here. Mm-hmm. And of course, we have history. Personally, we graduated together from Grand Prairie High School.
Righto.
Go Gophers, right?
Go Gophers, yeah.
Yes. And, but we have share this history with It's Happening in Grand Prairie. Mm-hmm. And of course, Miss Ruthie Jackson was part of the very beginning. And tell us how that got started, Chuck.
Well, I was really kind of caught off guard because the city manager's wife, Kathleen Johnson, said, Chuck, as part of the cable franchise agreement, we have use of the studio and cameras and all the equipment, and they're obligated to train us on how to use it for public access. And I said, great. And I had made arrangements for them to come, Store Cable, to come and tape a concert of the community band. Mm-hmm. Now, please understand, there were only about 11 people in the audience.
Oh, wow.
And we had a stage full of musicians. It was a 2-camera setup, and we moved the mixer from Dickey Road down to the Earl Tom Keel Theater at South Grand Prairie High, and we taped this community band concert. And it was good. They just like you were at Meyerson or something, they were fading in and out and doing a great job. And after it was over with, I asked Tracy Davis, who represented Store at that time, I said, I understand that we can do like a weekly news show for Grand Prairie. And she said, when do you want to start? So she was aware of the clause in the contract and that, you know, we're gonna work through this. And immediately I was set back on my heels. Okay, here we go. Who can I get? Well, I decided to get Mrs. Grand Prairie. And I called on Ruthie and I said, here's what we got. It's going to be like a news program. And of course, Ruthie was involved in so many things in Grand Prairie. And she started so many things. All of these projects needed promotion because we had a newspaper that some people read, you know, it was very low circulation. Yes. And that was all we had for news. So there was a clear and present need for some type of show like that. So we decided we're going to do this weekly TV show. It's local, just on the cable, you know. And we're going to tell people kind of what's happening.
It's happening in Grand Prairie.
And that's where the name came from. I think your mom came up with, well, we'll just call it that. It's Happening in Grand Prairie. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think it was one of the longest running, thanks to Ruthie, one of the longest running cable TV public access show in the country.
Yes, I've heard that, and as we've continued it, so it would still have that title, wouldn't
Still
it?
up there. You
Yes.
bet.
Yes, well, that is very exciting, and that history is so important. Chuck, were you president of the Arts Council at that time?
Grand Prairie Arts Council.
So that's one of the reasons that Kathleen reached out to you, because those were some of the few programs that were happening in Grand Prairie at the time. I remember Mildred Walker started that, then you were the next president, then I was the next president. So the Arts Council played a part in that as far as your role of getting it started. But when you and Mother started that, it was once a week. And did she arrange the guests?
All of the committees and clubs that she was in were put on alert. You're going to be on this show, and so we stacked up the talent for several weeks in advance. The trouble is, after a while, even though we had an immense area to draw from as far as talent, we ran out. And we were thinking, okay, who can we get next week? So eventually we turned it into a bi-weekly show. And that was why, because the talent just, I mean, we were using volunteers from South Grand Prairie and Grand Prairie High School, the radio and TV classes. They came and did camera. We had your kids in there, and it was a volunteer thing. But we had some good time, and I think I never really realized what we were dealing with until we went and did remotes. The remotes are the thing that people recognize. Of course, when you have somebody with a TV camera on their shoulder and a lady with a microphone in her hand, people realize, oh, it's happening, But I remember I got the idea of how powerful this TV was when we went into Bonham Elementary School during lunchtime. And as soon as we walked through the double doors of that cafeteria, it was dead silence. Those kids just couldn't believe that the TV's here. I mean, you just realize that, man, and nobody said anything. We just moved in, and Ruthie kind of perked everybody back up again. But the remotes really made it. We did the police auction, which was a lot of fun, and the chili cook-off out at Traders Village. And my favorite was when we went to the LBJ Ranch and got to interview not only Lady Bird, but Linda Robb and Elizabeth Carpenter. And Elizabeth Carpenter was LBJ's press secretary.
Yes, I remember.
And she kind of ran everything. She told when the barbecue was going to start and so on. But that was the Beautify Texas council that Ruthie was involved in. And we got to meet them, interview them. And I carry around that picture of me and Lady Bird and Ruthie all the time. So.
Yes, so you made some really good personal memories as well.
Oh, yeah.
And Chuck, that would be probably the most meaningful that you have in your memories, but was there anything that was kind of unusual or funny?
Oh, yeah. The president of the big bank in town, we decided that, he was involved in an art auction or something, and Ruthie wanted him to come and be the talent on the show, and so Ruthie did her typical intro and said, "Now, sir, if you'll just look into that camera and tell our viewing audience your name and where you work."
Crickets.
He couldn't think of anything to say, And here it was, a very distinguished guy. And working with Ruthie, we prided ourselves on we don't do retakes. We just go right on through and we make it work. Well, he insisted that we retake that little opening segment. But it was just kind of funny when I look back on it. Just tell him your name,
Right. The easy question, your name,
That's right?
And go from there. Well, I know you have great memories, and I know this was, it's fun going down memory lane. And
You know, Georgia, the most significant thing, and at one time I heard that the Dallas Historical Society, the Dallas County Historical Society, wanted those tapes to make a copy for archives in Dallas County because of the valuable oral history that they represented. And in talking with Don Johnson earlier today, he was saying that those are now being archived so that our Grand Prairie citizens are going to be able to just pick and choose and go into the archives with their computer and watch those segments through the years.
Absolutely, and that has happened. Actually, we went back and researched some of the Black history and other things such as that, and they're already available, and we've shared those, and people are just delighted to get those that have relatives that have passed and that they have that history. And I thought it was fun and I thought it was exciting, but I didn't realize the value of it until now, these 43 years later.
Exactly. And we're indebted, to me, you know, the kids, I remember Leslie Crabtree and John Doty. John Doty started with us as a volunteer and went on to run the character generator for Channel 8 News, you know. And I can say that Ruthie and I had a part in making sure that the kids had a place to practice their talent going forward. Dr. Tovar was right there, and I really, really appreciate him, Don Roper, and Tracy Davis, and Rob Willman. All those folks went together to make sure that we had a show that kind of stuck with it. So I appreciate that.
Chuck, thank you for bringing these great memories and for being here for us today to recap and remember. So we appreciate your being here and all that you invested in this show.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be right back.
Grand Prairie is changing the schedule for garbage and recycling pickups. Starting October 2nd, garbage pickups north of Warrior Trail will be on Tuesday and Friday. Garbage pickups south of Warrior Trail will be on Monday and Thursday. And recycling pickups will change to Wednesday for the entire city. For more information about the new pickup schedule, visit gptx.org.
Welcome back, and welcome to our next guests. It's great to have you all today. We have Don Roper and Mr. Louis Tovar, who were very important people in the very beginnings of It's Happening in Grand Prairie and continue to have something to do with that. So Don Roper, why don't you get us started and what you contributed to It's Happening?
Okay, when I started in summer of 1981, right out of school, and Rob Willman had started about a month before me, so then he got me on where I would go to DeSoto and then I would come into Grand Prairie. Both were store. And this was one of the shows that was done weekly, was this particular show. And I'd come in, maybe it was run camera or run audio or run graphics, or in the end, there was times when I would have to do all at the same time.
Yes.
When we were in the main studio, if we didn't have the crew and stuff.
Make money doing it.
So, you, of course, had to do a lot of things, and you had knowledge of Miss Ruthie. You knew Miss Ruthie before this event, right?
Right. I believe that y'all's families came in '48, the same year that my family came.
So we have history that way. And then this was a new thing for you, and Miss Ruthie, of course, carried on with It's Happening in Grand Prairie at that time. And at what location were you?
This was at the Dickey Road.
Dickey
in
Road.
Grand Prairie.
Yes, well, what do you think is one of the most outstanding things that you remember during those times?
My favorite thing was a video we did as a special for, I believe it was before it happened. Grand Prairie might have been, or it might have been at the same time. But it was basically showing shots at the historical thing that she would do every year for Grand Prairie.
Yes.
And then at this time, cable were not allowed to get a license for music. So it was okay to use any kind of music you wanted. So I took a local group, Calico, from the 60s and 70s, I believe they were on, and took their song Come On Down to Texas, and then made a video, a highlight video, using that song for the end of that particular show. That was my favorite thing that we ever worked on during those years.
And Don, you continue to use those skills and the things that you learned back then in your job today, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us what you do today.
I do training videos, and now we do some marketing videos also for Kyocera copiers and printers, and for technical people that go fix them, but also for the end user now, because they sell them on Amazon now. Like everybody
Yes.
else, they decide there's money we're leaving on the table. Let's go sell some of the smaller machines on Amazon. So you've got to teach the end user how to do certain things with a copier.
So your skills are still being used. That's
Right.
excellent. Now, let's go to Mr. Louis Tovar. Louis, welcome.
Yeah.
And tell us, first of all, tell us what your job is today.
I work in the technology department of the Grand Prairie School District. I'm also the video board director at the Go for Warrior Bowl.
Yes.
So I take care of everything, all the AV aspects of the game that involve the video board. So I'm there pretty much from that game day, from sunup to sundown, and take care of everything.
The history that you had with It's Happening has paid off for you for
Absolutely.
your job today as well.
Oh my gosh, the skills that I learned, and that was the main thing, is that I learned so much about production, about cameras, about doing shows, and it just translated over to what I'm really kind of doing right now as well, because I'm dealing in video cameras. I'm dealing how to take shots.
Yes.
It just really kind of just evolved into what I'm doing as well.
Now, Louis, tell us your history with It's Happening in Grand Prairie.
Yes, I was part of the radio TV program at South Grand Prairie, and I was part of Billy Donegan's class.
As a student?
As a student, yes.
Yes.
As a student, yes. And in my sophomore year back in '83, that's when they started using students to do with these shows. I had no idea who Ruthie Jackson was, and so they said, "Why don't you?" And it was in the end of the day, so they said, "Hey, go ahead, take your car and go drive." At that point, you don't need busing or anything. We took our cars up to the cable office and spend the afternoon helping this program, and that's kind of where it all started. And I did that for all the way probably through the end of my senior year, where I came in, and every Tuesday. You had shows going on. I mainly ran camera, but I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed doing that kind of work, and it just it was really interesting to see, for me, doing something where you saw an end result like that on TV.
Yes.
And that that really attracted me.
And those were early days. Store cable was something probably pretty new to the social aspect of the day.
Public access TV was, that was really the beginnings of public access TV. It was Ruthie's shows. It was some other shows that also came from that as well, and it was a good time. It was a fun time to be a part of that and to see that. It kind of is involved now into all these podcasts now, but that was the beginning. This was the beginning of how to do these type of shows. So no, it was, like I said, it didn't feel like work. It didn't feel like student homework or anything of that nature. It just felt like we were having fun.
Well, those are your beginnings, and were you connected? Did you continue to stay connected to It's Happening for the years to come, and how did that come to pass?
And after I graduated, I graduated, and a couple of years later, about '87, they needed someone to come and help them, and so I came in as a part-time employee. And then probably a couple of years later, I left and took a job up in Arlington Telecable.
Yes.
And where I continued to use those skills and tools, but more on a live sporting event. I did a number of live sporting events at the Go for Bowl at that point. But I took all those skills and went to Arlington, and they needed someone to help with football games and basketball games, and I did that there. And studio remotes. I keep looking at Don because Don, you know, he was one of the main teachers for us on how to do these things. So, and then I came back in '95 to Grand Prairie to continue to do Ruthie shows again and manage the studio.
Yes.
So, you know.
And when did you start with the school district?
I started in '05, summer of
05.
'05. Dr. Barbosa needed someone to come in to handle all the AV, and they knew I had you know, they knew of me because of my work on It's Happening in Grand Prairie.
Yes.
They knew I could do the job, and so in '05, summer of '05, I was hired on at the school district, and where I am today.
Yes, that is so exciting to hear it from the aspect that you have with the history. It's great, and you, both of you, have just been huge key players in this show, and have kept it going, and we appreciate you all so much. Is there anything else you want to add before we?
Yeah, just we talk about memories, and the one thing that sticks out to me is we recorded on September 11th, and that was a very memorable show that we had. It was the day of the recording, the day of the taping that you normally had a regular scheduled Tuesday taping, and after what happened in the morning, I called Ruthie and I said, you know, the building is shut down, office is shut down. I said, do you want to just reschedule for another day? And she goes, no, I don't. I said, I'm not letting this shut me down. So I go, what do you want to do? He goes, we'll bring people in through the side door and we'll do the show. And so I always kind of remember that is that, you know, Ruthie was very headstrong on getting the show done. She was extremely committed to doing what she could every week, you know, getting the show done. She always did her part of, you know, even if guests couldn't show up, she would try as her hardest to find guests or to you know, somehow put that 30 minutes together.
Make it happen.
She made it happen, and it was just, she was amazing in how she interviewed. She was able to get information out of people that were hesitant.
Yes.
And she knew exactly how to get that out of them. She was a real good interviewer. And
Yes.
I've always taken that from those shows.
I've loved watching her do that as well, and she made people feel very comfortable, and she was very good at it. So
Yeah, and also like the fact she did not have a script. She would have like bullet points.
right.
And everything was a bullet point, but she knew within those bullet points the question that she needed to ask that guest to make them comfortable, and to make sure that she got the information, that answer that she needed from them.
Yes.
Because there was some very rough interviews at times where, and you know, I think Chuck Edwards spoke earlier about that, where it was hard getting answers.
Right.
But Ruthie knew exactly what to do, and how to get that answer from them. So that was very impressive.
That was a gift and a talent, and she did it well.
She very, yeah, yes.
Thank y'all so much for these wonderful memories. Anything else that you want to hit?
No, that's like
That's
I said,
it.
that was
Well,
a great
you all
time.
did a great job. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being here. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. We know you are key players in the history of It's Happening in Grand Prairie. We thank you again for joining us today. And thank you for being with us today. I'm Georgia Clemson, reminding you it's happening in Grand Prairie.